Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It has been a long time waiting, but finally, here it is, episode 2 of the Checkered Flag Podcast. We're just waiting on our guest, Bodie Bates, to join, or our co-host, Bodie Bates, to join, and possibly get a guest in here. And since it's been a long time since we've had an episode of this, we're going to recap everything from the dual races for Cup all the way up to this past weekend at Texas Motor Speedway. It's going to be the same for Xfinity and trucks. We're going to update you from Daytona to Texas. And we're going to talk about a few other things, and it'll be fun. So just waiting on our co-host to join. And remember, here on the Checkered Flag Podcast, we don't just do one specific kind of motorsport. We do all motorsports here. So we'll let you know about Formula One and IndyCar too. Just got to wait for it to load.
I'm quite literally making my dinner right now, so.
That's alright, man. Take your time.
Yeah. It's fine. I'm making hot dogs, so.
I had Polish sausages, so I had something similar to that.
Yeah, that's kind of funny.
Dude, it's been a long time.
Yeah. A lot of news to cover in the motorsports world.
Yeah. So, like I said, I'll recap from Daytona up to Martinsville, and then you can recap from Martinsville up to Talladega, and then we'll recap Texas together.
Martinsville, I guess Texas as well. Wasn't that just Martinsville, Darlington, Bristol, Talladega in Texas?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we'll recap Texas together.
Okay.
But yeah, you can update them from Martinsville to Talladega, and then I'll update them from Daytona to Miami.
That's perfect.
Also, don't forget important things, like if a driver was like DQ'd and resulted in another win, don't forget that too. Okay.
I believe I got a good memory of what happened, but if I do forget, you can remind me.
Yeah. Dude, I don't know why, but every time Alex Palou wins, it like irritates me. In IndyCar. Like, to me, IndyCar is not. To me, IndyCar's kind of been like Formula One lately, like the same driver winning every race.
I hear you.
Like, that's one thing I like about NASCAR is there's a chance at a different winner each and every week.
Yep, I hear you.
Don't get me wrong. I love IndyCar and Formula One too, but like I said, it kind of got old when Christopher Bell went on his 3-race win streak, and it kind of got old when Denny went back-to-back and all that stuff.
Yep. Especially when Denny went back-to-back.
Yeah. I literally, I didn't even watch him take the checkered flag at Darlington. As soon as he came off of turn 4 on the final lap, I turned off my I turned off the race.
Stopped watching it after the pit road cycle. I was like, yep, this motherfucker's going to win again because pit crew clutches up for him.
Yep. I mean, I guess if it works, it works. Can't really complain about it.
No, you can't. I mean, they're showing that they are probably one of the best pit teams on pit road.
Yeah. But after watching that one crew member swing the jack around his back, I think other crews should practice that. It would save drivers like Ryan Blaney. It would save them so much time on pit road because they've done nothing but lose spots on pit road.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, you should be practicing that too. It's kind of like in football, where you kind of learn the play they're going to do because that's kind of what you're told to watch out for in practice and stuff.
Yep.
You kind of learn the play that they're going to do, and your job as defense, or if you're on defense, is to stop that play.
Yep. It's kind of like the push. Everyone knows it's coming on the 1 yard line, still can't stop it.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why. And I've had people tell me that I'm just mad and stuff and all that stuff, but honestly, I feel like that needs to be banned. Because to me, it's an unfair advantage.
Yeah, I agree.
Because, like, if a team can't stop it, then it makes it unfair immediately. Because they're just going to... At least if you don't ban it, at least make a restriction on how much you can... Like, where you can do it at and how many times.
I think I like the idea of the play, but I think the biggest problem I have with it is that it's so teased every time they're on the goal line. Like, there should be at least a limit of how many times Philly can run.
I agree. And besides, I think they're just too obsessed with Jalen Hurts' rear end, so they need to have a little break from that.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with where you're at. I think the idea of the play, I think it's, it's the gritty side of football, but I also see the unfairness.
Yeah.
I'm not really a big Eagles fan, let's be honest here.
Me neither. I hate the Eagles. That's why, like, when I knew the Super Bowl was over, I didn't even watch their the confetti fall or anything. Like,
I still watched the whole game, I'll be honest. Even though I knew Philly was going to win, I was like, you know what? I'm going to watch this and cherish this so that way I can watch the downfall of the Chiefs. Because if there's anybody I hate more than Philadelphia, it's the Packers, it's the Bears, and it's the Chiefs.
Yeah. But see, it's one of those things, like, where people hate Kansas City now, but when they start to have, not as dominant seasons, then people are gonna, kind of pull away from that and start to hate the other team that's, doing good. And then eventually, Kansas City is going to become good again. They're going to like it, and then eventually the same exact thing's going to happen, and, no one's going to like them again. That's what it is.
Well, here's the thing is that everyone hates dynasties.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't just start in football. Everyone hates the Yankees, or the Dodgers, or the Red Sox.
Yeah.
Or in the NBA, people hate the Lakers, or the Bruins, the Celtics.
Yeah.
Or in the NHL, they hate the Oilers, or the Blue Jackets, or the Maple Leafs.
Yeah.
Or the Red Wings with their late 90s dynasty, or Red Wings fans like us with the Colorado Avalanche.
Yep.
In the late 90s. Or, obviously the Giants of the of the 2010s, or in football, the Patriots, the Cowboys, the 49ers.
See,
the Packers.
I grew up a fan of both Detroit and Kansas City. I've liked them since I've started watching in 2014. And to me, because I'm going to tell you what, I try not to be a delusional sports fan. I try to be realistic. I remember one of my friends was so mad that Kansas City was winning a lot last season. I think it was when they were undefeated. He's like, y'all are going to beat the Bills. Y'all are going to three-peat. And I'm like, dude, You must be on something if you think Kansas City's beating the Bills during the regular season and that they're three-peating. There's a reason why it's never been done.
Yeah.
There's a reason why Denny Hamlin did not win 3 Daytona 500s in a row.
Mm-hmm.
It's not meant to be. Like, see, that's the thing. Like, I wouldn't have minded Kansas City losing the Super Bowl as much as if it was the Lions. Because, one, the Lions have never been there. And, two, you darn bet I'm going to cheer for the Lions over the Chiefs in a situation like that. If I want anybody to blow out Kansas City in the Super Bowl, I want it to be the Lions. Exactly. It's got to be Detroit. Or at least, you know, even if I'm not really a fan of them, at least a team that's, like, hasn't been there in a while. Like, if the Bills, you know, beat Kansas City in the playoffs and they go to the Super Bowl, I'm not much of a Bills fan, but I'd probably cheer for them just because, like, they haven't been there in a while.
No, I agree. I'm there with you.
Yeah.
I think, you know, and for me, I'm a big diehard Detroit guy. I mean, I'm going to root for the Pistons. I'm going to root for the Tigers, the Red Wings, and the Lions. And that's going to be the same way all the time. It doesn't matter who we play. I'm going to cheer for them.
Exactly.
Even if they're playing the Bills, my second favorite team, or if they're playing the Cubs, I'm going to root for Detroit.
Yeah.
So, speaking of the Tigers, I'm going to a game in June, so.
Nice. I want to go to a game. I'll have to figure out a time to go down there. It's kind of hard to, like, go on the weekend because, like, I work weekends, so, and I just had to ask for June 8th off because I'm going to Michigan for the NASCAR race.
Oh, you lucky dog.
So, yeah, we've been going since 2023. I just hope I get to watch.
Whole weekend off to go to that Tigers game. It's not too late. I mean, it's still a month away.
Yeah. I hope I get to watch the whole race, though, because the past 2 years I got to watch 75 laps my first year, and then I only got to watch, like, 59 last year, I think.
Yikes.
It would be nice to not have to come home and watch the race on a Monday for once.
I hear you.
And if I had the...
I can technically do it at work, so I mean...
Yeah. If I had the money, though, like, you know, a way to get home, if the race got postponed, I would just stay down there for a night and go to the race the next day.
No, I hear you.
But, yeah. I honestly, we'll have to talk about this, like, towards the end of the episode, but I'm going to give you the entire episode to think about it, but give me some bucket list tracks that you want to visit as a NASCAR fan someday.
Well, I mean, everyone says Daytona, right? I mean,
yeah.
Number one is going to be Daytona. I'll start with that.
Yeah.
I guess number two for me would be Bristol. And then my top three I already know. Daytona, Bristol, and Charlotte. Like, Charlotte is the center of racing. Daytona, obviously, is the world center of racing.
Yeah.
And then Bristol, I mean, it's Thunder Valley. I mean, it's Bristol, baby.
If X.
Set.
Dude, they're going to have an MLB game there this season.
I heard that. It's the Braves and the Reds, the two closest teams. And I remember I was in a group chat about that, and someone asked, why did the Braves and the Reds? And I'm like, they're the two closest teams in the track. Honestly,
I feel like though that, like, you could have had Tampa Bay or somebody play there too, because Georgia and Florida is closer to there than Ohio, in my opinion.
Well, here's something to think about: is Cincinnati is right on the border of Ohio.
Yeah.
Or Kentucky. Sorry.
Yeah, so I guess that's true. Well,
Bristol's on the border of Tennessee and Virginia, so.
I have quite a few bucket list tracks I'd like to go to.
Another one would be Indy for me.
Yeah, that I would say that's definitely on the list, but I'm going there for the Indy 500 one of these years.
Yeah, if I get a chance to go, I want to go with you.
Facts. We'll have to plan that. Yeah. I just don't know when I'm going to go yet or not. But I do know I want to go to the Indy 500 one year.
That would be fun.
But NASCAR-wise, you got to have Daytona as number one. Specifically, the Daytona 500. I would like to go to the Coke Zero.
I'd be happy with either or, but the Daytona 500 I agree with.
Yeah.
That would be the number one go-to, obviously. The number two go-to being the Coke Zero Sugar 400 at the end of the regular season.
Yeah.
I think Daytona puts on a spectacular show.
Yeah, I would definitely go to both. I would probably go to both the same year just because I would want to see how the season starts and how the regular season ends.
No, yeah, I'm fair with you.
And number two, I want to go to Talladega.
Ooh, okay, yeah. That's probably also on my list. My top five's locked, I guess now.
Yeah, because like who wouldn't want to go watch Talladega, specifically the playoff race? I wouldn't mind going to the spring race, but the playoff race would be really cool to go to.
Almost every single year since the playoffs have been founded.
Yeah. I would go to. I definitely want to go to a race at Iowa. Because that'd be.
Okay.
I watched that. I remember watching that race last year when the Cup raced there for the first time, and for a car that's not great at passing, that was still a really good race in my opinion.
I thought it was a good race. I think most of that might have been the age of most of the surface at Iowa.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, see, that's the thing. You know, fans like to. This is my thing. Okay, so fans like to complain about the cars and all that stuff. But my opinion on things is the older the surface, the better. If it's a newer surface, the cars probably aren't going to run as good. So for an example, if they said, you know what, let's repave Talladega Super Speedway this offseason, and they go there and race next spring and fall, it's probably not going to be that good of a race because of the newer surface. It's going to take a minute, kind of like Atlanta. It's going to take a minute for them to run good on that newer surface. What's up, Bronson? You know, it's the thing with Atlanta. I'm like Atlanta. You know, Byron owns the repave at Atlanta. Like, I don't think anybody realizes that. He owns the repave. He won at least 2 races at Atlanta on the repave. He's the only driver with multiple wins on the newly configured Atlanta track.
Yeah, I hear you. One of those, even though it was rained out, he has one.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just trying to get set up for dinner. So
You're good.
yeah, if I'm going silent, that's because I'm focusing on getting ready for dinner.
You're good. My opinion, another opinion I have is, what was I going to say? I got to think about it again. Oh, yeah, my opinion on when people say that, you know, drivers don't deserve rained out wins. This is my opinion on it. If that driver was up there competing from the start for the race win, and they at least won a stage, you know, before the rain came, you know, then I feel like it's deserved, in my opinion. Because, like, how can you say a driver didn't earn a win when they were up there in contention the whole race until the rain came?
You really can't. I mean,
yeah, and it's the same thing. Like, for an example, like let's say we're racing at Talladega, and Austin Cindric's the leader. You know, he's trying to protect the lead. He throws a bad block like McDowell does and turns himself, causes a pileup, and Josh Berry sneaks on by for the win. You know, I don't really understand when people say that, you know, in that situation that Berry wouldn't deserve the win either, because that means he was in the right spot at the right time, and he was able to avoid Cindric, you know, kind of like Reddick was able to avoid McDowell in that race he won. And honestly, it takes a wheelman to avoid that, because you watch somebody spin out in front of you, you're probably thinking, oh, you know, yeah, exactly. you're probably thinking, like, there's a car in front of me. There's a car in front of me that's spinning out. Is he going to go up the track in time before I get there, or am I going to T-bone him if I don't go somewhere? It takes it takes a wheelman to do that. Like, what people don't understand is these guys are built different. They're not your football, basketball player type dudes. They're constantly watching out their car, because in the event something goes south, they need to react like that. Kind of like, it's one of those situations, like where what happened with Priest and Larson that one year. There was no way Priest could have possibly avoided Larson. But in a situation like McDowell in the spring race last year, when he threw that bad block trying to protect the lead, Reddick had to react to that. But also, if you noticed on Reddick's car, not once did he slow down. And that most likely played a role into him reacting to that.
I think Brad was slowed up enough by McDowell.
Yeah.
Block.
Yeah.
Freed up that lane, and McDowell's bad block turned McDowell.
Yep.
Brad's trying to win the race.
Yeah.
Obviously, everyone's trying to win the race.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that Reddick was able to get past in winning.
Yep. It's kind of the situation like with Cindric winning, and I'm kind of glad Priest didn't end up winning, but it's the kind of thing with Cindric. Cindric had the lapped cars, which allowed him to use the draft. Exactly. Priest had nothing. Now, one could argue, though, that why did the cars behind them not try to go around them, on the final lap, especially in the tri-oval? But at the same time, it's like, honestly, it's probably for the better, because in a situation like that, it's prone to have like a chaotic finish. If Larson goes to the outside and like gets in the wall, just a little contact with the wall would be enough to spin you out.
You saw what happened with Bubba at Texas
Yep.
this past weekend. He got into the wall, got into Joey, tried to save it. Joey was still trying to go forward. And I don't think it was anyone's fault really there. It was just a matter of the fact that Bubba got into the wall, Joey was inside of it, Bubba bounced off the wall into Joey and spun himself.
Yep. Also, when we get to the Texas recap, I want to talk a little bit about the surface, because I have my opinions on the surface, and I'd like to get those out there.
I think what a lot of people don't realize, especially with this next-gen car, is like, they say that certain tracks are bad.
Yeah.
Like short tracks, I get short tracks are bad, but they don't. You got to take consideration that 8 of those 12 turns at those racetracks are concrete.
Yeah.
Bristol is all concrete, and then the concrete pads for Martinsville.
Yep.
And Richmond's all asphalt. Like Richmond, I think, has had the best short track racing of any short track.
Yeah.
In the next gen era.
I would say minus Denny jumping the restart in the Easter race last year, though. Like that was really, NASCAR really showed their true colors by not issuing a penalty there. Me personally, this is what I do in my NASCAR league. I make it clear that if you jump the start or pull out of line on accident, and I notice that you're out of line and you don't fix it, you have to do a pass through. If you fix it before I notice it, then, obviously you're safe. But if you jump the restart and win the race as a result of it, it's actually a DQ instead of a pass-through. Because it wouldn't make any sense to have you do... Yeah, it wouldn't make any sense to do a pass-through because, like, you're going to pretty much be DQ'd anyway. You're going to finish last. So it's like, if you jump the start and you win the race, you're disqualified. Who's ever in second is technically the leader.
Okay. No, I agree. What if someone decides, what if they know they jump out of line, but they drop out to the back?
Like if it was like Daytona or Talladega?
Yeah, if they jump out of line on a restart, coming down the back stretch, and, like, they drop to the back, but then get back in line.
Well, that's fine. But they have to tell me. They have to tell me if they're going to do that, because then, like, I'm just going to assume that you're trying to gain an advantage. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to say you have to do a pass-through, so it's up to them to let me know what their intentions are. And you can really only do that at the super speedways, because that's really the only places where you could possibly do it. Yeah. So, yeah, it's up to them to tell me. Anyways, I'll go ahead and recap from the duels to Miami. I'll also do the IndyCar and Formula One recap, and then you can go ahead and do your stuff after I finish mine. So, all right, guys. So since we haven't had an episode since the Clash, we already told you that Chase Elliott won that. We're going to update you from the duels to Texas. So starting with the Cup Series. Bubba Wallace won Duel 1 at Daytona. Austin Cindric got Duel 2. Eric Jones thought he had the win, but unfortunately, Cindric edged him out enough at the line to get the victory there. Or I think it was under caution. Never mind. I think there was a crash and it was under caution.
It was like 100 yards, or it was like probably not even 10 yards to the line when NASCAR threw the yellow.
Yeah. Denny Hamlin thought that he was probably going to win his 4th Daytona 500. Not so much. He had to call national debt relief the next day. William Byron claims back-to-back titles after a big crash on the final lap of this year's Daytona 500. And this year's Daytona 500 was rained out a few hours. It started at 1:30 due to the threat of weather. Unfortunately, we got 9 laps and the yellow came out for rain.
Yep.
And then they did not...
It wasn't the 2022 Coke Zero Sugar 400.
Yeah. Or the 2024 one, in my opinion. Me personally, I feel like they could have restarted that. They just didn't want to. Like, you could have easily, if Fox had an issue with them running that race later, you could have just switched over to FS1.
Yeah.
Like, what?
It's the Daytona 500. Well, the Coke 600.
Yeah. Like, what is FS1 broadcasting at that time anyway? It's most likely a sports replay, unless if, they got, like, college baseball or MLB on, which I don't think they had MLB on at that time. Yeah. All right, so Christopher Bell got Atlanta after NASCAR ruined potential back-to-back 3-wide photo finishes. I think that at that point in time, you let them finish racing to the line because the car was so far enough back. I really think that... Exactly, because they're going to slow down anyway after getting the checkered flag. Because the caution lights always come on at the end of the race. So, I think that you let them race it out. You potentially could have had back-to-back 3-wide photoed finishes. I think Carson Hocevar actually would have been the winner if that would have happened. Then Christopher Bell starts, as a result of that win, starts one of probably the hottest streaks of 2025. He wins again at Circuit of the Americas after passing Kyle Busch. Kyle's tires were just dead. He couldn't do anything. He stood no chance.
I agree. I want to talk about Coda for a second.
All right.
Everyone had said Coda was boring racing. Really, I didn't think it was really entertaining, even in the Gen 6 car.
Yeah.
But that was because of the rain. I really enjoyed the Coda race this year on that short circuit.
Yeah, and that's a good point. That's a good point right there too. NASCAR shortened Coda this season. Honestly, it was okay, but I don't really understand why. I think I liked the 20-turn course in my opinion.
I enjoyed the short course. I really did. It made it a lot more easy to follow. It kind of bunched the field together a little bit better. It made it a lot easier to follow, in my opinion. And I think that finish was really a cause because of that. I think everyone bunched up. I think Kyle's tires were a big issue in that. But also, everything was bunched up because it was a shorter course.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed that.
Yeah, like I said, it was okay. I think I'll have to give it a chance again next year before I just decide if I like it or not. But I like the 20-turn course because, there was, if you added those extra passing zones, if a driver gets there, it gives them a little more time, too, to try to get there, versus the shorter course, you have to pretty much be there in turn 1, going through the S's and try to be there as well. But I think it was okay. I don't hate it. I'd honestly be down for them to bring it back next year. Also talking more about Coda, Chase Elliott fans, including myself, quickly started saying screw Ross. My opinion, about that race is, why is Ross trying to win on the first lap?
No, I agree. The race isn't won in the first lap.
Exactly, and that's what I tell my drivers in my NASCAR league too. I'll be like, don't try to win the race on the first lap, because I guarantee you, if you take me out on the first lap, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait until you need to win or something in the playoffs, and then I'm going to remember how you raced me. And obviously we still have the same rules as real NASCAR, like you can't intentionally crash somebody, but I will run you into the wall if I have to in a situation if you run me over on the track. So you're not winning the race on the first lap. You cannot win the race on the first lap. That is just no. That's a no. Christopher Bell would make it 3 in a row with a win at Phoenix, edging out Denny Hamlin, denying Hamlin his first win of the year at Phoenix, at least. There was a question about a potential 4-peat at Las Vegas. Well, someone with the name Josh Berry decided that wasn't going to happen.
From Hendersonville, Tennessee, former high school and middle school classmate of Taylor Swift and Joseph
wins his first career Cup race in just his 5th start. And a lot of people clowned Harrison Burton for that, but you gotta be honest here. The Wood brothers, I think it's a small team anyway, so they don't really have, their alliance with Team Penske, but they don't really have.
Them a lot. I do think it helps them a lot, especially.
Yeah.
You take a look at Team Penske as a whole in their success in NASCAR. They've had a lot of tracks. Michigan with Joey Logano and Ryan Blaney's won a race there.
Yep.
Las Vegas, they've had a lot of success there with Joey and Brad. I guess you can include Josh Berry. You can take a look at Talladega, Daytona. They've had a lot of success at these tracks.
Yep, Blaney has been involved in 3 photo finishes at Talladega. 3. And I think that there's a potential that he will add a 4th to his list.
I think so.
And Team Penske as a whole, at least that I know of, has been involved in 4 photo finishes at Talladega. 3 with Blaney, Austin Cindric's this year. But anyways, what I was saying is that besides they might be in an alliance with Team Penske, but they really don't have the resources to build a contending car every week. So to clown Harrison Burton for it taking him as long as it did to get his first career Cup win with the Wood brothers, it's really not necessary. I think that you give it a couple more seasons, I guarantee you the Wood brothers can build a car that contends every week.
Agreed. I think another big factor into why that was such a success and why Josh Berry won so early. Think about where he won, Las Vegas. He's successful at that track.
Exactly. He won an Xfinity race there too, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and he could have won yesterday, or on Sunday, but we'll get into that when we get into our Texas recap.
Yep.
So Josh Berry denies Christopher Bell the 4-peat. Kyle Larson shines in Miami, as expected. Honestly, I didn't expect him to lose at all there in Miami.
No, I didn't either.
Now we get into the Xfinity side of things. Jesse Love started his season off on the right foot, a win at Daytona. My opinion, when you wreck my favorite driver in a race, I don't think you should win the race. So I'm not a big Jesse Love fan. In fact, he's definitely been on my last nerves this season. I'm not loving Love. Then Atlanta, Austin Hill would capitalize. Austin Hill, again, he's another driver I just don't really care for, but will I ever deny the fact that he's actually a good driver? No.
I don't know.
Anybody says he's not a good driver is kind of a clown, in my opinion. I don't like him.
He's really good on the super. I mean, everyone calls him a super speedway merchant, but
Yeah.
you think about the best in NASCAR history. They were all super speedway merchants.
Exactly.
By today's standards.
I don't like him, but he's a good driver. I'll give him that. Circuit of the Americas, Connor Zilisch won. Zilisch is a road course warrior. He's basically gonna become Chase Elliott. I mean, Chase Elliott hasn't been a road course warrior since his last road course win in 2021, but he's trying. I think that Chase will easily become a road course winner again. It's just going to take him a minute to adapt to the change of car on tracks that he once was dominant at. Phoenix, Eric Almirola, he's part-time in Xfinity. He won. Kind of controversial, Alex Bowman had his opinion on how Almirola raced him there. Was it kind of dirty? I can't really say, because you're coming to the checkered flag, and Dale Sr. always told us that rubbing is racing. So I mean, was it a situation of just rubbing is racing, or did Almirola run over Alex Bowman to stop Alex Bowman from winning? And Justin Allgaier would start his own winning streak. He would win at Vegas this season, and then he would go back-to-back at Miami as well, denying Larson, the weekend sweep. Larson would be denied that again, eventually. Now we go over to the truck side of things. Daytona, we all saw it. Parker Kligerman took the checkered flag. Unfortunately, there were some issues there. NASCAR disqualified him, so Corey Heim was credited with the win at Daytona. Atlanta, Kyle Busch back-to-back. Vegas, Corey Heim would pick up career, or not, I don't know how many career wins he has, so I'm not going to say that. But he would pick up win number 2 of 2025, and Kyle Larson at Miami would win. And that's the weekend where he got denied the weekend sweep, because he won every race but the Xfinity Series race.
He won 2 out of those 3 races at arguably his best track.
Yep. And let me update you on ARCA real quick. I have to look that up. I know Butterbean won Daytona. Yep. All right, so yeah. So at Daytona in the first race, Butterbean Queen won the race. Then we go, their next race was Phoenix. Brent Cruz won at Phoenix. Lawless Allen won at Talladega. And their next race is this weekend at Kansas.
Hooray, ARCA on FS2.
With okay, so yep, those are your results for ARCA. Now let's get into IndyCar and F1 before we have Bodie update you on the rest of the Cup, Xfinity, and trucks from Martinsville to Talladega. So for Formula One, the season began back on March 16th. Lando Norris won the season opener in Australia. China was won by Oscar Piastri. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. Piastri. Japan won by Max Verstappen. Piastri, oh my gosh, 4-time race winner, 3 in a row. As he wins at Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, and Miami. Man, I think Oscar's the new Max Verstappen. 3 race wins in a row. And then we go to IndyCar, and it's kind of like what we were talking about earlier. It's like, I don't like seeing the same winner win every race, and that's kind of pretty much what's been happening with Alex Palou here, because he won the season opener at St. Petersburg. He won Thermal Club, which is basically IndyCar's all-star race. It's not for points. Then Kyle Kirkwood won at Long Beach, so thankfully he stopped a four-peat for Palou. Palou would win at Barber. And this weekend is the Sansio Grand Prix at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Road Course. And then, 15 days after Saturday, it is, always has been, and always will be the greatest spectacle in racing, the Indianapolis 500.
I'm always excited for that race. I've watched that race every single year since 2021 or 22. I've watched that race every year, and it's always been fun to watch.
That's the same for me. Honestly, I think that Joseph Newgarden really has a realistic chance to make it 3 in a row.
I agree.
But again, I as much as I'd love to see it happen, again, you gotta wonder, can Pato O'Ward finally win the lactose variety of the IndyCar race? Like, can he finally get that win? You saw him last season. He was kind of hunched over the front of his car, hands on his face, couldn't believe that, he allowed Newgarden to get to his outside there on the final lap. He was just 2 corners away from it. Newgarden gets by, and next thing he knows, Newgarden's running into the stands with the fans again.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. Can Pato O'Ward finally win it, or will we finally see a three-peat before GTA 6?
That's going to be a question. That's going to be a good question. I think a lot of that is going to be heading into this race. But I think it's all going to come down to that race in general. It always does. And it always comes. That race, it takes a while, but man, is it entertaining. And it's just a great. It's a great middle point. It's the cream of the proverbial Oreo that is the greatest day in racing.
Another driver to watch out for would be Kyle Larson. I mean, he probably could have won last season if he didn't make that mistake. Like, I think that Larson's proven he can win in anything. He's just like Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Christopher Bell and Chase Briscoe. They race sprint cars.
Yep.
Larson's won in those. He's won in trucks. He's won in Xfinity. He's won in Cup. He has a Cup Series championship. I think that Larson is going to be one to watch out for in this Indianapolis 500.
I have to agree.
All right, Bodie. So if you want to recap,
I can at least get the Cup stuff. At Martinsville, Denny Hamlin started off a great partnership with Progressive by getting the win at Martinsville, his first race with Progressive on the hood, and kind of used a little bit of a what do we say, a ceiling flag, I guess you could say, because he put the 11 against the world flag out, even though that's technically an Ohio State flag, and technically that was taken from Michigan as Michigan versus everybody. So, anywho, Denny Hamlin would win the very next week at Darlington on Throwback Weekend, honoring Carl Edwards, his former teammate, running the Sport Clips Altacito throwback for Carl Edwards from his 99 days. Then the very next week, Kyle Larson stopped the potential three-peat of NASCAR's favorite villain by calling him out and then winning after dominating at Bristol. The very next week, that was
Talladega.
Talladega.
Yep.
Yes. It was Austin Cindric with a side-by-side photo finish. But unfortunately, there were 2 DQs in that race. Second place finisher, original second place finisher, Ryan Preece was disqualified in that side-by-side battle with Austin Cindric. and Joey Logano was CQ'd from his 5th place position, which would have been his first top 5 of the year. And then we head to last week at Texas Motor Speedway.
Before we get into Texas, I actually wanted to add something to Talladega. So, and I'll do the truck and Xfinity for update, I guess. But so going into Talladega for Cup side of things, I understand Ryan Preece's DQ, but I don't understand Joey Logano's, and the reason why is because these guys are bump drafting off one another for 500 miles. Who's to say the bolt didn't fall off during the race? And if it didn't, who didn't do their job to notice these violations on the 60 and 22 in pre-race inspection?
If it didn't happen during a race,
yeah.
How were they able to start in their original starting position, which I agree with. I have to agree with what you say exactly. I think the Priest thing, I get. I have to agree. That doesn't really sound like something that could happen from a push.
Yeah.
But the Logano thing really does sound. What was it for? A single bolt out of the spoiler?
Yeah. Like, what are we doing, NASCAR?
A single bolt out of the spoiler. Like, seriously, how much of an aerodynamic advantage is one little bolt in a bolt probably this big or this long? Probably not even a half-inch long. How much of a difference is that size of a bolt going to make in aerodynamics on a NASCAR Cup car going 200 mile an hour in a pack?
Exactly.
Seriously. I know I'm a Logano fan, but as a NASCAR fan, you got to look at that and say, what the fuck? How does that make any sense? I'm sorry.
Exactly. It brings a
my language, but I don't get that. It's one bolt. That's like penalizing a guy for having his splitter up by a centimeter.
Yep.
From where it should be after a short track race.
Or his window net fell down during the race. I mean, it's a safety violation, but
falls down under caution.
Yeah.
Because you called caution during the All-Star race and made a bullshit rule that said it had to finish under green.
Yeah.
2022 All-Star race. Somebody said something now.
Yep.
Or you penalize, or you DQ a driver because his tire pressure was 1/10 PSI too low.
Yep, I agree. That flashback to last season. I like Logano. I'm a Logano fan. He should not have been in the round of 8 at all, my opinion.
No, I agree.
Like
that Bowler penalty. Well, yes, it was BS. We do have the video evidence to back it.
Yeah, but at the same time, somebody can argue, and I would understand that you're going over turtles on a road course, like I think it's 109 times. I think it's 109 times during the race. I think that's how many laps are at the Charlotte Oval. It's 109 or 110, something like that. But you're doing that 109 times during the race. Of course, the car is going to lose some weight. Like, what are we doing here, NASCAR? Like, I don't understand. And another thing that irritates me is they need to learn when to throw a caution and when not to throw a caution. For an example, let's say Kyle Larson and Cindric are racing side by side in the Daytona 500, and let's say they're too close to determine who the leader was at the white flag, but the white flag is in the air, indicating this race is official.
Yep. Coming to the line, and right before they get to the line, like let's say they're 6 feet from the line, NASCAR throws the caution.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we have electronic timing and scoring to go really in depth to see how close those cars really were.
Yeah.
Like, this little bit, they can determine that little bit of how close that finish really was.
Yeah.
You take Kansas last year, I think it was like an inch apart maybe?
One 1,000th of a second, I think it was.
That closest finish in NASCAR history.
Yeah.
since it was implemented in, 1993, I think it was?
I think it was, too.
It was 1993, I believe. But I think when it comes down to it, in that scenario, NASCAR, if those cars are coming, example Daytona, they are coming into the tri-oval and they are like halfway between turns 3 and 4 and the start-finish line, do not throw the caution on
Right.
the leaders.
Right.
To the white flag.
Okay, so
Come into the checkers.
Back to what I was saying. Let's say it's Larson and Cindric side by side. They enter the tri-oval. The flagger throws the white flag. They cross the start-finish line, aka the overtime line.
Yep.
And they go into turn 1, and Larson gets a bad push, spins out, sends him and Cindric hard into the outside wall, and collects half the field. That is the perfect time to throw the caution and end the race. Because it's the leaders, meaning it is dangerous. It is dangerous for the cars behind them to continue racing at 200 miles an hour because there's a 15-plus car pileup in front of them. That's the time to throw a caution.
I think as well, 2023 was a good example of it.
Yeah.
I get it's the last lap and you want the race to finish, but how many cars were even in that lead pack after that wreck? Like 4 or 5?
I think so, yeah.
4 or 5 in that last wreck between when it was Logano and Stenhouse side by side?
Yeah, I think that was 2021 because McDowell won under caution.
Yeah, McDowell did that when Keselowski and Logano wrecked each other.
Yeah.
And it was like, 3 or 4 in the morning?
Yeah, but like I said, I understand, that's a time to throw the caution. The leaders crash in turn 1 and start collecting cars. Yeah, you better throw that caution. Now, here's a time to not throw the caution. Let's say it's Larson and Cindric side by side, racing. They make it to the start-finish line. Flagger throws the white flag, indicating 1 lap to go, which makes the race official. They go into turns 1 and 2. Coming off of turn 2, Josh Bilicki spins out by himself off the track through the new pavement back there, and nobody else is involved. Keep the race green, because even if Bilicki crashes, he's far enough away from the pack to where it's not going to have any impact on the race in a potential disaster. And even if Bilicki does come back up the track, as long as all the cars are past him before he does, it's 2.5 miles. Therefore, like I said, when the checkered flag is in the air, the caution comes out after that anyway. The drivers will be slowed down. Yeah, they'll be slowed down in time for the incident. But you don't sit there and you don't let the big one happen on the final lap and not throw the caution either.
Yep.
Like you don't let the big one happen on the final lap. And now if it is a single car and it's still like a car up front and there's cars behind the car that spins out, even if it's by itself, yes, you throw the caution because you don't know where that car is going. And they need to get rid of this dumb rule about these lines on the track to where it's not the moment of caution, it's the last scoring loop. Nope. My opinion, it needs to be the moment the caution comes out that the for the entire race.
The rule, it happens to be for overtime finishes or the last lap.
Yeah. But like I'm saying is during the whole race, not just the last lap or overtime finishes. It needs to be the moment of caution that determines the leader, not the last scoring loop. If Jesse Love is not the leader at the time of caution, it shouldn't put him as the leader just because he was the leader at the last scoring loop. Like, no.
No, I agree.
Like, it's just...
that screwed Raja out of a win in Texas last week.
It did. It really did. Raja was the leader. And even then, I believe he was the leader by a few inches at the last scoring loop as well.
Yep.
So it's just one of those things. Like it's NASCAR continues to make poor decisions, and then they got someone named Elton Sawyer backing them up and stuff. honestly, my opinion, he needs to be fired.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of scared to know what his driving was like when he was an actual NASCAR driver himself. Because if his driving is just as bad as his takes, no wonder why he's the vice president of the sport now, instead of driving.
Yep. Or team owner.
Yeah. He continues to do stuff that makes the fans mad. And it,
Scratch their heads.
yeah, and it's just, you need to move on. You need to let somebody else take over. All right, so now that we talked about that, let's go into our Texas recap. Oh wait, I forgot. I gotta recap the Xfinity and trucks real quick. So give me a second to look that up so I can recap everything from Martinsville. All right, so I can get them both here. All right, so Daniel Hemrick, he won at Martinsville for the Truck Series, got his first win with BMR Racing. Then we get into the April side of things. Chandler Smith gets his first win with Front Row Motorsports at Bristol. Tyler Ankrum gets career win number 2, which honestly I thought was career win number 1. I'm not going to lie, he got that at Rockingham. Then, again, we'll recap Texas after I do this. All right, so now we go Martinsville. All right, so Austin Hill stole one at Martinsville after that big crash on the coming out of turn 4 on the final lap. A lot of people put the blame on Sammy Smith for that one. Sammy probably was a little too did a little too much. Do I think that he actually meant to? No. I don't think that could Max Verstappen beat Lightning McQueen. I don't know. Lightning McQueen is speed. But anyway, well, realistically, yes, because Max Verstappen races an open wheel car, and technically Lightning McQueen is a NASCAR Cup Series car. So yeah, a Formula One car would beat a NASCAR race car any day of the week. But, anyways, like I said, I don't think that Sammy Smith meant to cause that crash at Martinsville.
I don't think he meant to crash. I think he meant to obviously go for the lead.
Yeah.
I don't think he meant for the crash.
Exactly. My guy, for the first time since 2022, guys, my man Brandon Jones got an Xfinity Series win. He won at Darlington Raceway. Of course, the one race I missed, he won. So I kind of was a little depressed, but that's okay. At least my guy got the win. And Kyle Larson won at Bristol in the Xfinity Series race. So he got stopped by Justin Allgaier from completing the three-peat at Miami in the Xfinity Series. And then he got stopped by Chandler Smith at completing the three-peat. Yep. And then we go to Rockingham Speedway. Now, Jesse Love originally won this race. However, he was disqualified. NASCAR upheld that disqualification, so Sammy Smith ended up winning that race. Then we go to Talladega Superspeedway, and NASCAR handed Austin Hill the win there. It was clearly Jeb Burton. You could see it in the picture, and they're trying to show us a different picture and argue. Nope, it was clear as day that Jeb Burton was the leader. Yeah. All right, so now, here we are at our Texas recap. So we mentioned Rajah
took home the win at Texas Motor go reverse his disqualification from Talladega over a minuscule fraction, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's kind of like Jimmy Johnson's 2020 Coke 600 DQ when he finished second to Brad. Like that pretty much set the tone for his playoffs that year. Like I feel like if he finishes that race in second, he would have qualified for the playoffs, despite being out a race due to So yeah. It kind of reminded me of Jimmy Johnson's DQ. It was completely bogus. You know, people might say like, "Oh, says the Joey Logano fan," but you know what? It's the honest truth. It really is.
I don't think a lot of people see it that way, just because they hate Logano. But back up for a second and don't look at the driver. Look at the infraction.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a bull in the spoiler.
And it's another thing of keep that same energy when your driver gets a stupid DQ.
Yep.
If you're gonna call Logano a cheater and clown him, you better do it when your favorite driver, when it happens to your favorite driver.
Yep.
Now let's talk about the Xfinity Series side of things. Jesse Love completely ran over Connor Zilisch at Talladega. Could have killed him, my opinion. I'm very mad at Jesse Love for that. You know, I feel like even the apology he gave wasn't even like a real apology. But Kyle Larson filled in for him, and Kyle Larson got the 88, a second win of the season. Now, what does this mean? This means that Connor Zilisch will not see any points for this race, or obviously get the win. It goes to Kyle Larson. Yes, the 88 will get owner's points, and NASCAR did give him a waiver to continue to be eligible for the postseason. Now, NASCAR mentioned that the waiver thing has been tweaked for this season. So injury is you're going to get a waiver. For Kyle Larson running the Indy 500, if he has to miss the Coke 600, his wins mean nothing.
Yep. He has to build everything back up.
Yep.
And try and get back into the playoffs.
And even if he does, it doesn't matter because
he still just has to get a win to make the playoffs, doesn't he?
No, if you don't get the waiver, you can't be playoff eligible at all. You're treated as a part-time driver.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So he might be able to get the owners championship, I think, but he won't be eligible for the drivers.
Championship.
Yeah. That's assuming, knock on wood, that the same stuff happens. Like, I don't want it to happen, so I'm knocking on wood. But, yeah, so Larson wins as a fill-in driver. Rajah Caruth gets screwed out of his second career truck victory for Corey Heim. Honestly, as much as I don't hate Corey Heim, but I don't really care for him, I think it's time to go Xfinity Series racing. What is there more to prove in the Truck Series? You have 3 wins this season. 2 of them NASCAR basically handed to you.
Yep.
So
the championship, I think, is the big thing for him.
Yeah.
I think he still wants to win the championship, and I think he can win. I think he would win the championship this year. I think he's got a great chance at it. I think he can win this championship this year in the Truck Series. I don't think the competition is there to really compete with him. Who else can really compete with him?
Yeah, and we've seen Ben Rhodes,
Rajah Caruth is a great driver. I think Chandler Smith is going to be a contender. Other than that, I just think it's those 3.
Yeah. Well, right now it's looking like Corey Heim as the favorite for the Truck Series title. In the Xfinity side of things, I can't really tell you because it seems like there's a different winner every race. You know, as much as I don't really like Austin Hill, I mean, he won 2 weeks ago. He's won a couple races this season, 3 of them to be exact. So, could it be Austin Hill's year in the Xfinity Series? I mean,
I think that's tough to say. I think Justin Allgaier, every year you could say Justin Allgaier, but I don't think you can this year.
Yeah.
There's just 4 guys that are better than him in the Xfinity Series.
Unless if he's
Connor's comes back, I think he's going to be a big threat.
Yeah.
I think Carson Quapple by the end of this year is going to be a threat. I think both RCR cars are going to be threats by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Like Sammy Smith. There's a minimum of 4 drivers there that I just mentioned off that is considered have had better years than Justin Allgaier.
Yeah.
Some of that has been Allgaier has been, inconsistent, but Allgaier's coming off his first NASCAR championship that he's been working for how many years now?
It was when Allgaier won his first last year. I think it was 7 or 8 years of trying to win it.
With Junior Motorsports
Yeah.
alone. So that says to me he might be clocking out by the end of this year.
Yeah.
There's just something in my mind that says Justin Allgaier is going to retire at the end of this year.
Or maybe within the next 5 seasons.
So I think definitely within the next 5 years. Probably even to guarantee the next 3 years.
Kind of like my take that I had a couple years ago when the Lions were first projected to be good again. I said within the next 5 seasons, whether you hate us or not, there will be a Super Bowl parade in Detroit. Yeah, they're going to win. It's just.
It's a matter of when, and I think
yeah.
I want to go off topic with the Lions a little bit. How many tries did it take Michigan after 2020 to win a national championship?
At least 3, because technically it was the 23 to 24 season. So.
23, yeah. So 2021 made the playoffs, got bounced by the favorite. 2022 made the playoffs and got upset. 2023 went all the way and won the national championship.
Yep.
The Lions, 2023, were bounced by the favorite in the semifinals. 2024 were upset. 2025.
Is it the Super Bowl year?
Could it be in 2025 the Detroit Lions win the Super Bowl? We'll have to wait until next February.
I tell you what, as long as it's on a day that I have off of work, I just might have to text up one of my friends and be like, "Yo, we're going to the Motor City because I'm not missing a Lions Super Bowl parade. No way."
I want to see it too. If the Lions make the Super Bowl in general, there is going to be the Detroit style pizza runneth over.
Yeah.
In the Motor City.
I doubt any the Detroit pizza places are gonna see this. But if the Lions win the Super Bowl, at least one of you should offer at least one slice of free pizza.
That's a once in a lifetime. That's a 1 in a million moment.
Exactly.
When the Lions win the Super Bowl, everyone in Michigan should get free pizza the very next day if they wear a Lions jersey.
Yeah, exactly. I like that. Little
Caesars, you were founded in Detroit. You own half the Detroit sports teams. Make it happen if the Lions win the Super Bowl. Free Detroit style pizza for anyone who walks in wearing Lions gear the very next day.
Or Jets pizza, because Jets pizza does Detroit style too.
Yes, but I know Little Caesars was founded in Detroit, so.
I think that or at least make it interesting, be like you have to at least wear a hat and a shirt or hoodie or jersey in for a free slice of pizza.
I got the Hutchinson jersey.
I got a Jahmyr Gibbs jersey. I got a Jameson Williams jersey. I got the old Jared Goff jersey. I got everything. I'll wear all 3 jerseys, man, and a hat.
I'll wear my Jared Goff shirt, or I'll wear my Hutchinson shirt with my Hutchinson jersey, and I'll go to Detroit and buy it.
There you go. I want to get I seen one at Kohl's. I want to get the draft hat from the 2025 draft, the one that the players got. Yeah, it was it was actually cheaper at Kohl's than it was other places. It was like $40-something at other places, but Kohl's it was like $39, I think.
Wow. I have to try Kohl's.
At least it was at my Kohl's. I don't know how it would be at yours, but
we don't have a Kohl's here, but I could see what it'll look like at Battle Creek, maybe.
You know, a good website that is actually legit would be ujersey.com.
Really? I've seen that, but I haven't tried it yet.
It's actually legit. You can get jerseys for a good price. Like, I got my friend, he's a Dolphins fan. I got my friend a Jalen Waddle jersey for Christmas for $40 off of there. And it's the actual jersey you'd normally buy off the NFL shop for $119.
Wow. Okay. I'll have to take a look at that.
Now, certain things are a little more expensive on that website, so not everything is cheap, but a pretty much good amount of it is.
I might have to look at a Tigers hat before I go to my Tigers game.
Yeah, I need to get me a new Tigers hat. I want to get me. I have the postseason hoodie, but I want to get me just a basic Detroit sports or Detroit baseball hoodie, and I need to get me a T-shirt.
I need to get a hat at least, but when I go to the park, I might get a jersey.
There you go.
I don't know if I get a custom one for my road to the show, or if I get just a Torkelson jersey. I don't know.
I want to get me a Torque one. I have a Tarek Skubal jersey, because let's be real, how can you not have a Tarek Skubal jersey?
That's a great question. I want to get one. That would be fun.
I remember this is the first time something I said aged well. One of my friends asked me, he's like, should we trade Tarek Skubal at the deadline? I'm like, heck no, man, we would be idiots to trade him. And sure enough, it aged well, really well. Like, I thought it was going to be one of those things where I said that, and then they're going to be like, I thought we were idiots to trade him when, and he was going to, like, throw more home run hits than strikes,
Yeah.
But Tarek's really good. All right, so before we shift any more attention outside, there's a few more things to talk about for the motorsports side of things. So let's take a look in Kansas and give our picks. Now, I'm going to say this right now. We're at least going to give 3 picks for each of the series, including ARCA, but at least let each other give their main 3 picks before you give any more. So you're more than welcome to, but we'll at least finish our first picks before we give any more. So my 3 picks for the Truck Series: Corey Heim. I mean, let's be real, he's pretty good at Kansas, pretty good on the 1.5 miles. Rajah Caruth, I mean, he won on a 1.5 miles at Las Vegas. And as an underdog, honestly, give me someone like Ty Majeski. He's been quiet this season. And in seasons past, when he's been quiet, he's made noise. And he got the biggest hardware that anyone possibly could get in the Truck Series last season. So he has a lot of pressure to get that first win of the year. All right, Bodie, you go ahead with your picks, and then we'll move on.
I think my 2 favorites, I'm actually going to have to agree with you on all 3. So I like your reasoning, and I think that's, a good... I have to agree.
Alrighty, so there's the picks for that. Now we go to Xfinity. So for Xfinity, honestly, you got to give me someone like Carson Kvapil as an underdog. Looking for his first career win, he's consistently ran good. I don't see why he can't finally get that first win. Then going into my next pick, Brandon Jones. He's kind of another underdog. I don't think, me personally as a Jones fan, I think that he hasn't had a great experience at Kansas Speedway in seasons past, but I think that he could. And honestly, give me Justin Allgaier. I think Allgaier will get his 3rd win of the season.
Let me ask you this: who is filling in for Zilich?
I'm not sure. He hasn't been medically cleared yet. I would imagine if it was Larson last week, it's probably going to be Larson again.
If it is Larson, I like the Allgaier pick as an underdog. And then I like Carson Kvapil as well. If it's not Larson, I will have to agree with you and put Brandon Jones in.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry if that's 4 picks, but
it's kind of hard to choose for Kansas because it's kind of like a super speedway. I always call it the miniature version of Daytona and Talladega because I'm gonna be real with y'all. Kansas is a dangerous track. Ryan Preece, remember 2020, Ryan Preece after ended, when they started doing races again, he crashed really hard into the wall there and like basically did a bicycle.
He flipped pretty much.
Yeah. And he got...
It's a fast track.
Yeah.
Even for the age of the surface, which, granted, is only, 13 years old?
Yeah, he's... Like I said, it's a dangerous track. It's a very racy track. It's like Michigan, so... I mean, it's dangerous, bro. It's kind of hard to choose, honestly, for Xfinity. Because, like, Xfinity, it seems like anyone can win every week. You have your favorites, but again, it seems like anyone can win. For Kansas, for ARCA, I'm not sure who's... You know what? Just give me an underdog pick at Butterbean. I'm only going to give one pick, but I'll just give an underdog for my pick.
I haven't watched ARCA, but I'm just going to throw... Is Cletus running Kansas or no?
I don't think so.
Dang it. I'll have to go Butterbean then.
All right, so Butterbean going to be a multi-time winner this season. Now we go into the Cup Series. Now the Cup Series, this is kind of the easy series to pick. You got to, for starters, I think Joey has what it takes to go back to back. He's proven success at Kansas, raced his way into the championship for a round of 8 or something like that in 2020 there. He's always there. It's one of Joey's best tracks. So to not pick Joey kind of feels illegal. Then you got to go with Denny Hamlin. As much as I don't like Denny, again, who's had the most success there, even though one time he ran over his so-called best friend for the win. And then for an underdog pick, give me Ryan Preece. And the reason why is because Ryan Preece or any of the RFK guys. You know, Chris Buescher was 1/1000th of a second away from winning that race a season ago. He has ran good there. RFK Racing is back. Like, Brad's running okay every week when he doesn't get caught in someone else's mess. Preece has been running good consistently this season. That first win's coming. It's just a matter of where. He could have easily won at Phoenix if he ran the option tire the entire race. If Preece would have saved a set of the option tires, Preece would have been a Cup Series winner at Phoenix.
I think my pick here, I have to go with Larson.
Yeah.
I have to go with Hamlin. And my underdog pick is Joey.
Yeah. As much as Joey's good here, I mean...
Granted, he hasn't won here since 2020.
Yeah.
But he's shown speed on these mile-and-a-halves to show that, hey, I can contend. He won Vegas last year. He won Nashville Super Speedway last year.
Yep.
Joey has had so much success at this track. 2014, he won there. 2015, he won there. 2020, he won there. That's 3 wins already.
And
it's just one track. And all 3 of those wins were the same race. Granted, they were the fall race.
Yeah.
And he's had really good speed at Kansas.
It's one of Joey's...
He finished top 5 with a car that probably wasn't handling the best on 2 tires.
Yeah. I honestly, if you put the championship race at Kansas, Joey Logano is probably the favorite to win a fourth title because he just runs really good at that track. That's why,
Even Penske has shown the last few years they don't have to be the most dominant or the most consistent. They just have to be the best at one track.
I mean, look at...
They just have to show up.
look at Ryan Blaney. He's not the most dominant. He should have a win right now. You know, if the damaged vehicle policy was what it was a year ago, Larson would have not been on track at the end of that race. So therefore, Blaney would have already won a Cup race. Denny Hamlin would not have won at Darlington. But you know, he's not the most dominant, but Blaney's there. But like I said, you know, it's Joey. Christopher Bell is a great driver.
Christopher Bell, I have to agree. I mean, I work for a sponsor, so
Heck yeah.
Shameless plug, but he's another good pick.
Yeah.
I just think it's tough for the guy, Tyler Reddick.
Yeah.
Tyler Reddick as well. 1 year before. Who wins this race, though? There's so many guys, and Joey Logano's got the momentum coming off Texas. His first win there since 2014, and his first win with AAA output.
Yep.
So,
fun fact for you.
A lot of momentum going into this race for Joey. I think there's certain guys you could watch out for. I think my favorite, though, is probably Kyle Larson, though.
Fun fact for you.
With the way he raced at Texas, I thought he raced really well.
Yeah.
I think he's raced really well all year. He's shown really good speed. He's shown consistency. I think Kyle Larson can win.
Yeah, I definitely think he could go back-to-back in the spring race for sure. Fun fact for you, though. We have had back-to-back seasons of a sponsor getting their first Cup win, at least of the 2020s, and like their first Cup win or their first Cup win in a long time at Texas Motor Speedway. 2024, Chase Elliott had never won a race for Hooters before. He won them that race at Texas. Now, they did some really messed up crap and left him after that race. But he won them. He won them that race.
Thought with that is Chase Elliott's their poster boy.
Yep.
But he's now sponsored by Coca-Cola, and if I'm not mistaken, Hooters is a Pepsi restaurant.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right. I think it is Pepsi products because I think I get a Mountain Dew every time I go there.
I think you're right. Yeah.
So
right.
yeah. Anyways, then Joey Logano, first ever win with AAA at Texas.
That was the first win for AAA in its sponsor's history.
Yep.
For not just Penske, but all of NASCAR. They sponsored RCR's cars in Michael Waltrip Racing.
Yep.
They sponsored Joey. They sponsored Kurt Busch. They sponsored Sam Hornish Jr. and AJ Allmendinger in 2012. That was the first win for AAA insurance.
And you know, Joey said it himself. They were with him for 14 years, or something like that. So that's good. That's good that they finally won a Cup race. Now another pick that's probably a realistic pick. I mean, he's gonna have to find speed. But he's won here before. But Elliott has the best average finish at Kansas Motor Speedway I seen on a post today. So could Elliott finally find a track where he can make the right call to win a race? Yeah. Like, I mean, he won the last time he won at Kansas, he had Mountain Dew on the car. Obviously, they're out of the sport now. But the last time he won there, Mountain Dew was on the car. Can he win with Napa on the car? There.
We'll see. Another pick for mine, Chris Buescher.
Yeah.
He was this close to being in the playoffs last year, and it was at Kansas.
Yep.
I think Chris Buescher can win this race.
Yeah.
I love the Ryan Preece pick. Don't get me wrong, but Chris Buescher, he showed speed last week at Texas.
Yep.
He showed he could lead until he cut down a tire and the carcass fell off onto the track, which is another example of NASCAR's piss poor officiating. Sorry for my language, but I think Chris has shown speed, especially mile and a halves. He's shown that he can race at a lot of different tracks. Bristol's another good track for him. Last year he won 2 years ago he won Michigan. Last year he won at Watkins Glen.
Yep.
2023 he won Daytona. He's won on almost every type of track in the Cup Series except for a mile and a half.
Richmond, Michigan, Daytona 2023, Watkins Glen last season. Again, it's just like, it's one of those things, like, that's why I said, yep, that's why I said, like, when thinking about the RFK guys, I picked Ryan Preece as an underdog, but really any of the RFK guys can win.
I agree.
And so let's go back to Texas for a minute, because I want to talk about the surface. Josh Berry was running very good there. Potentially could have picked up another win, especially on a mile and a half, and he spun out and crashed in the wall because he hit, quote, a bump in the track. So, me personally, I feel like unless if you mill up all the asphalt on the track and repave it, it's going to continue to be an issue.
Yeah, and I have to agree. I have to wonder, because when we went to Atlanta earlier this year, they talked about how the surface is aging at such a high rate because of the heat down there.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if at Texas that bump is getting worse every single race because the cars in the heat that combine.
Yep.
Especially the summertime heat at Texas. You got to think, Texas, it gets hot in the summer.
This
isn't Michigan type of heat,
right,
where it's 90 degrees with 100% humidity. No, this is straight sun beating down on the asphalt.
That's why the race is no longer 334 laps and 500 miles. It's now only 267 because it's so hot that drivers were basically passing out because cooling suits were failing.
Yep. And I think that bump, I don't remember hearing about that bump until coming into this year.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing that happened.
I haven't watched a Texas race in how long, but we hadn't heard or worried about that bump being that big of an issue.
I think it's the same thing that happened to Denny last season, though, because remember, he was side by side with Elliott there, and like he just spun out and crashed in the wall off of turn 4.
That's right. It wasn't just Barry that did it. It was Kyle Busch.
Yep.
It was, who else did it?
A lot, too many people. So that if I was in Elton Sawyer's position right now, I would say that, since the fans tend to complain about Texas, I don't have an issue with the way Texas races, in my opinion, minus the bump. But if I was in Elton Sawyer's position, I would say, why don't we demolish, Texas and rebuild a new track? Why don't we build another super speedway? Make it like 188 laps like Talladega. That way, drivers aren't passing out, or even 160 laps. That way drivers aren't passing out. We'll make it a quad oval super speedway with the front and back stretches, banked like Daytona, and then the turns banked like Talladega or something. And, we'll have another super speedway race. Honestly, like, when I think Texas, I think pack racing, bouncing off one another at 200 plus miles an hour. And they kind of were pack racing. And you could even leave it as a mile and a half, but I feel like if you're gonna do what I said to the turns and front straightaways, you at least need to make that a 2-mile super speedway.
Mm-hmm. I think what would be a really good idea, more fucking night races, please.
Yes.
Like, Texas used to be a night race. Why the fuck are we right now in a time where we are struggling with viewership?
Yep.
We have seen in other sports, the NFL, the MLB, the NBA and NHL, they're already inside, so they're already under the lights.
Yeah.
But the NFL and the MLB, none of these have helped those sports.
College football.
We go into more day races. Like, I understand that Sundays are like the days where nobody's doing anything, but you could still do Saturday nights.
Yeah.
Like,
bring back Wednesday night races.
I mean, it's a midweek thing. I think it would be entertaining. I think that would be fun for a middle of the week thing.
Yeah.
It's been Saturday night's investment.
Yeah.
Saturday night racing is your best bet. How many do we have? Daytona, Bristol.
Martinsville used to be Saturday night.
But now it's not.
Yeah.
Now it's Sunday evening in the playoffs and a day race. You added lights at Martinsville and you hardly even use them.
Yeah.
You have lights at Atlanta and you use them, once? Since you've used them, let's see. In the past 10 years, we've used them. 2015, I guess you could consider. 2018, 2023. Yeah, 3 times at Atlanta. And you have lights on that track.
Yeah.
Kansas has lights. Haven't used them since 2022.
You know what? You know what you need to do? You need to add lights to Pocono, Michigan, and Talladega. We have a Daytona night race. Why can't we have a Talladega night race?
We have, let's see here, what other tracks have lights that don't get utilized? Richmond.
Yep.
No, technically Richmond was day and night. Probably use them, but that's on a Saturday night. I couldn't.
Here's another take. When it's an elimination race, I think that in all elimination races should be put at a track that has lights, and any elimination race should be ran in prime time. We already have Bristol with the night race, but why couldn't you make the
Charlotte,
yeah.
Kansas is a great example. Last year was only because it was random. You can't even consider that because the original start time was 3:30.
Yeah.
At Kansas last year. This year it's still 3:30.
Yeah.
We're trying to draw in a West Coast audience, but you got to consider start at their time at 3:30, not 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
On a Saturday night. You get more viewership.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
an age of streaming too. We're going into the summer months. Michigan's going to be nuts. Michigan has always had a nice night race, or has had a nice day race in the summertime. Only real issues were being first week of August when they've had unseasonable downpours.
Yeah, which is why I'm hoping that when I go this year, since it's in June, it won't rain.
Yeah, I hope so for you.
But yeah, so also another thing, before we get into our news about the championship race, we have just 2 races left on Fox this season. This weekend's race at Kansas.
Thank the Lord. It's Kansas and what else?
Kansas and the All-Star race.
Okay.
And 3 weeks from.
And then we go to Amazon Prime.
Yep.
For the Coca-Cola 600.
For 5 races starting at the Coke 600.
Isn't it also the in-season tournament?
That's on TNT. So when TNT,
that's right.
When TNT takes over for their 5 races, that's when the in-season tournament kicks off, and then it goes to NBC.
Before I judge it, I think it's a gimmick thing personally, but before I judge how stupid it is, I just want to see how it plays out.
Yeah, honestly, I'm in the same boat as you. I don't know if an in-season tournament is really the thing for NASCAR. You know, it's like.
Well, I guess we'll see. Do I think it's cool? It could be.
It
could be. Let's see how successful it is. But we'll see how it goes. I think it could be another playoff disaster thing too.
Yeah.
But we'll see how it goes.
And let me give my take on the playoffs. I love the playoffs. I love them. I'm sorry to anybody that, is 87 years old on the couch that wants the old Winston format back, but I like the playoffs. I think that NASCAR has proven that the playoffs belong in NASCAR, and they do reward a deserving champion, in my opinion. Because if you're...
Those who consider winners or the champions illegitimate, they don't consider the fact that I think the system is flawed. And I really liked the chase style format we had until 2013, the 2013 style chase with 2 wild cards. I thought that was very fair. It still kept the points, but it added an extra little bit of pressure on that championship fight too, and added more drama to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess really there's nothing else for me to talk about there. You got anything else before we head to the championship race?
Nope. So the championship race will shift starting next season, each season. So instead of just being at one track, it's going to be like the NFL and the Super Bowl and the draft.
Rotate tracks.
Yep.
And I think they're starting off great with Homestead.
Yep, Homestead.
2026, it is going to be at Homestead Miami Speedway.
I heard.
The question is, where do you want to see 2027?
I heard a rumor that 2027 might be Vegas.
Okay, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, and
that's a great idea.
I think that
I would have loved to see if Auto Club was still in its old configuration, the championship be there.
Yeah.
And you run it under the lights.
Yep.
Saturday night.
I think that Nashville will be 2028. Then Phoenix will be 2029. Homestead be 2030. Las Vegas will be 2031. And 2032 it will go back to Nashville.
I have to agree there. I think that's a great, that's a really good, really well thought out. And I think even if it's, it's not, if it's just kind of a harebrained thing like sometimes I do, I think it's good. I think some of those tracks need a little bit of work with the cars. I think it's a good idea, and it kind of incentivizes NASCAR to change the cars.
Yeah.
I think. Because you're going to have, because people, if they go by that schedule, and you already know where the championship is at, people are going to be like, oh, this championship was great. NASCAR is going to be like, holy crap, we need this type of racing everywhere.
Yeah. Now another place I think could host the championship. How about North Wilkesboro? You can fit a Cup Series field in there.
Yeah, you could. I like that idea. It's just the weather is the problem. It was always the weather was the thing with me with the Clash movie.
Yeah.
But after I saw it, I was like, you know what? That wasn't a half bad show.
Yeah.
I like that.
I think that me personally, the Clash needs to return to Bowman Gray though.
Yeah, I actually agree there.
But I think that they should, even though it's historic, I think that they should at least make Bowman Gray a little bigger.
I think I gotta hop off here soon. I got to get up early tomorrow, so.
Alright. Yeah, so that's that. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, well, that was episode 2. We will be back sometime next week with episode 3. We might do a special episode if we get some major news to let you know. But until then, so long, everybody. Thanks for watching. We greatly appreciate it.